that no one's ever gone in before. The lock doesn't release for 48 hours after cleaning.
What if Lucas Kyle was supposed to die before he ever reached Silo 17? Because the more you look at what happened to him, the harder it becomes to call his survival lucky. Lucas was shot by a drone while trying to reach Silo 17, left injured outside, and somehow survived long enough to make it through the door. But that creates a massive problem for everything Silo has taught us about the outside world. We have already watched people go outside and die. We watched Allison leave Silo 18 believing she had discovered the truth, only for the reality of the outside to become her death sentence. We watched Juliet in the Season 1 finale struggle through the outside while her suit malfunctioned, knowing that every second away from the silo was taking her closer to death. So why does Lucas survive? Why does a man who has already been shot somehow survive long enough to cross the exact same deadly environment that the show has spent years telling us no human can survive? And what if the answer isn't that Lucas is simply tougher than everyone else? What if Lucas's survival is the first real clue that the outside doesn't kill people in the way we've been told? Think about the rules the show established from the beginning. Going outside is treated as a death sentence. The cleaning ceremony exists because the people in the silo believe anyone who leaves will die.
I've been asked to clean and have been provided with the materials to do so.
The suit is supposed to protect the person for a short period, but eventually the outside gets them. Allison's story established that going outside means confronting something horrifying. Juliet's story made the danger even more immediate. When her suit malfunctioned, she wasn't suddenly safe because she was Juliet. She was running out of time. Her only chance was to reach another silo before the environment killed her. The entire tension of that finale depended on one basic rule: the outside is lethal. That's why Lucas surviving episode 8 deserves much more attention than it's getting. Because Lucas wasn't in perfect condition. He wasn't wearing some miraculous new suit. He wasn't calmly walking across the surface. He had already been shot by a drone. He was injured. He and Kennedy were stranded. And yet, he still made it to Silo 17. Now ask yourself the obvious question. What should have happened to him? If the outside environment is truly as deadly as we've been told, the gunshot shouldn't even be the biggest problem. The injury could slow him down, but the atmosphere should finish the job. The longer Lucas remained outside, the more dangerous the situation should have become. Instead, he survives long enough to reach the entrance. And this is where the theory gets much bigger than Lucas. What if the poison outside isn't simply radiation? What if the thing killing people is connected to the nanotechnology we finally learned about in the Before Time storyline?
The one that is most dangerous, nanotechnology.
Episode 8 changes the history of the apocalypse. The world wasn't simply destroyed by a mysterious radioactive event. Stinson explains that nanotechnology has become an existential threat. Humanity developed technology capable of becoming a weapon against civilization itself. Charlotte's mission reveals how terrifying that technology could be. The cloud she flew into wasn't some ordinary environmental hazard. It was connected to a nanoweapon. That detail changes the entire way we should look at the outside. Because if the outside threat is nanotechnology, then there may be more variables than we've been led to believe. Different concentrations, different forms, different levels of exposure, different reactions, and potentially different people. What if the people inside the silos have been given an oversimplified version of what happened? What if saying the outside is poisonous is technically true, but not the whole truth? Maybe the outside doesn't instantly kill everyone. Maybe it changes people. Maybe the threat depends on exposure. Or maybe the people who die outside aren't actually dying because of the atmosphere itself. That sounds impossible after everything we've seen, but look at what the show keeps doing. Every time we think we understand one rule of the silo world, another piece of information comes along and complicates it. We thought the outside was dead because Bernard said it was. Then Juliet discovered the world wasn't exactly what she had been shown. We thought the cleaning was simply a ritual. Then we discovered the technology surrounding the helmets and suits could manipulate what people see. We thought the silos were simply underground shelters. Now we know they are part of a much larger system. And now we know that Safeguard has physical infrastructure that can potentially be blocked. So why should we assume the outside is exactly what Silo 1 says it is? That's the problem Lucas creates. His survival doesn't fit neatly into the official story. And the show has already given us a character who survived something that should have been impossible. Juliet. In Season 1, Episode 10, Juliet's suit is compromised while she's outside. She knows she can't remain there indefinitely. She has to keep moving. Every moment matters. And eventually, she reaches Silo 17. That's important because Silo 17 becomes the common denominator. Juliet survives the outside and reaches Silo 17. Now Lukas survives the outside and reaches Silo 17. And what do they both discover? A silo that has already broken one of the most important rules of the entire system. Jimmy's mother found the safeguard pipe. She attempted to cap it. And Silo 17 survived. That's not a coincidence worth ignoring. Silo 17 keeps becoming the place where the rules break. It's where Juliet discovers evidence that changes everything. It's where Lukas and Kennedy learn how safeguard works. It's where Jimmy and the children have survived after everyone assumed the silo was dead. And now it's where Lukas arrives after surviving an attack and the supposedly lethal outside. Maybe Silo 17 isn't simply abandoned. Maybe it's different. Maybe the environment around it is different. Maybe something happened there that changed the conditions inside and outside. Or maybe Silo 17 simply has the one thing the other silos don't have: people who stopped believing the rules. But there's another possibility, and this one is much darker. What if Lukas wasn't just lucky enough to survive the drone? What if the drone was never meant to kill him? Think about the circumstances. Lukas and Kennedy are sent to Silo 17 because Juliet needs information about Safeguard. They are carrying out a mission that could potentially undermine Silo 1's ability to control Silo 18. Then they're attacked outside. That could be random. But Silo has repeatedly shown us that powerful systems don't leave important things to chance. If someone knew Lukas and Kennedy were going to Silo 17, eliminating them would make perfect sense. The drone attacks. Lukas gets wounded. Kennedy survives. They still reach Silo 17. And now the system has failed to eliminate two people who possess information that could threaten the entire Silo network. That's a serious problem. Because Lukas isn't just alive, he's informed. He now knows that Safeguard can be interfered with. He knows Silo 17 survived. He has communicated that information back to Juliet, and he is standing inside the exact place where the silo system appears to have broken down before. So perhaps Lukas surviving is more than a physical mystery. Perhaps it's a narrative warning. The system tried to kill him, and it failed. And if the outside poison also fails to kill him, that becomes even more significant. Because then Lukas has survived both sides of the system. The machine was designed to eliminate him, and the environment was designed to kill him. What if that is the clue? What if the show is telling us that neither one is as absolute as we were led to believe? And now think about what that would mean for Juliet. Because Juliet's entire worldview has been shaped by the belief that the outside is dangerous. She has risked everything to prove that the truth is different from what the silo authorities tell people. But if Lukas becomes proof that the outside isn't universally lethal, then Juliet's mission changes again. She doesn't just have to defeat Safeguard. She may eventually have to expose the lie about the surface itself. And that could be the biggest revelation of the entire series. Imagine if the truth isn't that the outside is safe. Imagine something more complicated. Imagine that the outside is dangerous, but not for the reason everyone believes. Maybe the atmosphere is contaminated by nanotechnology. Maybe the contamination changes over time. Maybe some areas are safe and others aren't. Maybe the silos were never designed simply to wait for the poison to disappear. Maybe they were designed to control who gets to discover when the surface becomes survivable. And if that's true, then Silo 1 has been hiding more than the history of the apocalypse. It has been hiding the future. That would explain why controlling information is so important. If people inside the silos discover that the outside might eventually become survivable, they stop accepting the idea that they need to remain underground forever. If they discover Safeguard can be stopped, they stop fearing Silo 1. If they discover other silos survive, they stop believing their own silo is isolated. And if they discover Lukas survived the outside, they have physical evidence that contradicts the official story. That's why Lukas could be more important than anyone realizes. He doesn't need to be immune. He doesn't need to have some secret superpower. His survival simply needs to prove that the rules aren't absolute. And Silo has always been about rules that people were told could never be broken. Don't go outside. Don't question the pact. Don't investigate the old world. Don't communicate with other silos. Don't interfere with Safeguard. Don't ask what's happening in Silo 1. Juliet broke one rule after another, and now Lukas may have accidentally broken one of the biggest. He went outside, he was wounded, and he survived. That could be why his survival feels so strange. Because if the writers wanted Lukas simply to survive so he could deliver information to Juliet, they could have made his journey much easier. Instead, they gave him a gunshot, an apparently lethal environment, and a desperate journey to Silo 17. They are emphasizing the fact that he should have died, and when a show repeatedly tells you someone should be dead but keeps them alive, that's usually not meaningless. It's a clue. The real question is what the clue is pointing towards. Maybe Lukas has some unique biological resistance. Maybe the nanotechnology interacts differently with certain people. Maybe the outside is becoming less dangerous. Maybe Silo 17 has unique environmental conditions. Or maybe the biggest revelation is that the people in the silos have been lied to about what actually happens when they go outside. Whatever the answer is, Lukas's survival could eventually become one of the pieces that destroys Silo 1's entire narrative. Because once people can point at a living person and say, he went outside, he was shot, and he's still alive, the story becomes much harder to control. And that's what makes this theory so dangerous. Lukas doesn't have to be the chosen one, he doesn't have to be special, he just has to survive. Because in a world built on the belief that survival outside is impossible, one survivor is enough to create doubt. And doubt is exactly what Silo 1 cannot afford. So maybe the drone didn't fail to kill Lukas. Maybe the outside didn't fail to kill Lukas. Maybe both events happened for one reason: to show us that the rules we've been given are not the rules of the real world. And if Lukas Kyle is the first person to prove that, then his survival in Episode 8 isn't a convenient escape, it's a warning. Because Juliet already survived the outside once, Lukas has now done it too. Safeguard can potentially be stopped. Silo 17 survived. Bernard is questioning Silo 1. And the truth about the before times is finally coming into focus. The walls around the silo are starting to look less like protection and more like a prison. And perhaps the biggest secret isn't what's waiting outside. It's why Silo 1 has spent so long making everyone afraid to find out.